Do you remember at the very beginning of the school how we talked about irrational and rational and all that good stuff? Yeah? Okay. No, that's Jackson over here. All right, so what was an irrational number? There you go. There you go. Can you give me an example of an irrational number? That means a decimal. Pi. Oh, the pi is a perfect one. Pi is a perfect one. Okay, that's an irrational number. So it says to a radical sign, and Gabe is telling us that's the square root. That's right. So we have to figure out, is that still a real number? So use your calculator, and you can type in square root of pi. Is that still a real number?
You want to do something calculator?
Almost. We haven't talked about imaginary numbers yet. We're going to talk about imaginary numbers later. All right, so is that still a real number? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. So is that sometimes, always, or never? Always. Hi. Okay, thank you. All right, anybody lost? Y'all okay so far? All right, what about number 14? All right. So, what do we know about this guy so far? Let's just write down everything we know about number 14. It's a cone, right? So what do we know about a cone? You got to use pi, Braden, right? Why do you know you have to use pi?
Because it's a circle at the bottom.
Oh, yeah, very nice. Okay, what else do we know?
You use radius.
How do we know what the radius is?
It says diameter.
Okay, the diameter is 6, and you divide it, and you get the radius is 3, right? Okay, keep reading. What else do we know? It's got a triangle in it, right? It's got a small one and a big one, which we're going to use that in just a minute. What else do we know? The height is how much? 5. Perfect. All right, then they can tell us it needs to be partially filled, right? What else do we know? Keep reading. It's going to be partially filled, yeah. Keep reading. Yeah, we know it's got a vertex up here, right here, right? Keep reading. What else do we know?
Volume
We need the volume, right? Volume of what?
of the water is up kind
Yeah, but how do I know what formula to use? Because what's it asking me to find? Volume of what? Volume of what? A cone, right? Okay, so do you see how we have a small cone and a big cone? Y'all see that? Okay, let's do the big one first. Let's do the large one first. What is the volume of a cone? Ooh.
like height times
Not 1/2, 1/3
1/3 times pi r squared.
pi r squared. One more.
Divided.
What other thing did we use? Height is the other one that we use. There you go. Y'all okay so far? All right, so here we go. We know 1/3 pi, and we know r. What's r? 3 squared. And then we know height is 5. Now, do not use pi, but use your calculator, and let's figure out what those numbers are. Remember how to do a fraction? Parentheses. 1 divided by 3. And then times 3 squared is 9 times 5. And what do you get? 15 what? Pi. There you go. That's not what it asks us to do. It asks us to find the volume in terms of the height, right? So here's what we have to do next. We have to look at, Gabe told us these triangles. So let me get some different colors so y'all can see. Do you see this little triangle? Y'all see that one? Okay. Then do you see this big triangle? Oh, Lord. I just drew all over that. Y'all see that? Pretend like that's a straight line right there. Okay, pretend like that's straight. All right, so what we need to do is we need to figure out, based off of that triangle, Let's see. We already did the big one, right? Now we got to do the little one. Do we know anything about the little one? Do we know the radius of the little one or the height of the little one? Okay, so we can do similar triangles, though, from geometry. Remember that? Ooh, what's the height of the little one? 5 minus h. And, 5 minus 5. That's just the little one, baby. The full thing is the 5. Okay? The little what? Yeah. But they won't. You can't use that. It's 5. All right, so let's see, what else do we know about the little one? We know 5 minus h. What else do we know? R, radius. Okay, what about the big triangle? So the big triangle, how much was that? The height? 5. And the big triangle, what was his radius? 3. And then what could we do from there? You got an equal sign. What can you do? Cross multiply. There you go. All right, so this one gives me 5r. And this one gives me 3 times 5 minus h, which I can distribute. Ooh. Yep, minus 3h. Y'all okay so far? Okay, so we found the volume of the big one. Now we need to find the volume of the small one, okay? So when it's got 1/3 and pi. All right, but now we need to find the radius, because I can't say r, because what was r for the big one? 3, so I can't say r. But what can I do to this guy right here to figure out what r is for the small one? What can I do to this guy to find out what r is? Divide everything by 5. There you go. So r is equal to 3 minus 3/5 h. So that's what our r is. And that is squared. Here we go. And then what was our height for our little one? 5 minus h. They were nice and went ahead and gave that to us. Are y'all okay? Okay, so I think we will not worry about foiling that, and we'll just leave it alone for right now, because I have a feeling that's going to be a nasty beast. So we'll just leave it alone for now. Is that okay with y'all? All right, here we go. So we need to make sure we have a graphing calculator, because we are going to finish up our determinant stuff from yesterday. What's confusing about that? And today is the day that you finally get to learn how to do fractions on your calculator. Oh, finally. All right, let's go back over 4 and 5 to make sure we all remember how to plug that in to find determinants, okay? Let's go back over 4 and 5. Yes, we all did that the other day. That was yesterday after your quiz. We all did number 6 yesterday after your quiz. All right, here we go. So we got a second matrix. Hurry, come on. Second matrix, and we go over to edit, right? Everybody should be plugging in their calculators with me. Second matrix, over to edit. What's the size of this guy?
2 by 2.
2 by 2. There you go. I know, we're just going to go back over and make sure we're all okay. Because you got to know how to do this stuff for what we're about to do. 7. All right, let's type this in. All right, and then we need to get out of edit mode. So how do we get out of edit mode? Second and quit, right? There was a determinant button on your calculator. Do you remember where it was? Where do you have to go before that? second matrix, over to math, and the very first one is determinant, right? And then your calculator's like, hey, what do you want me to find the determinant of? So you have to tell it. Go back to second matrix and hit enter on A. It's a good habit to close your parentheses, but you don't have to. And then you should get negative 114. Anybody having issues with that? All right. Say that again. Negative 114. Yeah. All right, number 6. So be thankful that you have a calculator, and you don't have to do this the long way, okay? So we're going to use, remember I told you yesterday, in order to do this by hand, you would have to rewrite the first and second columns outside, okay? So that's why I'm saying be thankful that you have a calculator. So I just did that to kind of show you how the calculator does it. So let's go back to our calculator, go to second matrix, go over to edit, and what size is this guy? 3 by 3. There you go. So we're going to type that in, type all of our numbers in, and we're going to get our calculator to work for us and tell us what the determinant is on this one. Yeah, bud. They're on Google Classroom. Yep. Alright, so then you hit second quit to get out of edit mode. You go back to matrix, over to math, enter on determinant, and then tell your calculator to find the determinant of that matrix. I got negative 57. Did I get that? Sweet. Okay, go ahead real quick. Try number 7. See if you can find the determinant of number 7, okay? Okay. See if you can do number 7. Y'all try number 7. Okay, just type in. What's happening? Y'all try number 7. Alright, you with me? Right. So you cleared it out, you get second quit. Okay, back to matrix. Oh, you wrote it there? Okay. So then you go second matrix and hit enter on A. And hit enter, and you should get negative 57. You didn't do the determinant, you cleared it and you didn't do the determinant. Second matrix. Over to math. Enter on determinant, second matrix. Enter on A. Hit enter. There you go. Alright, what'd y'all get on number 7? Negative 63. Very good. Alright, anybody having issues getting negative 63 and they need my help? Alright, okay, here we go. So, last one, number 8. Y'all try that one real quick. Last one, number 8. Use your calculator one more time. See if you can get number 8. Make sure, guys, that you are writing DET equals, determinant equals, okay? Don't just write a random number. All right, what'd y'all get?
54.
54. Very good. 54. Anybody need help? Y'all okay? Easy stuff? Be thankful you have a calculator because it's not easy without one. All right, let's go ahead and flip over real quick. This is where I'm about to show you how to use your fraction button. All right. Okay, so let's start on this part down here. You ready? Notice this part right here. That looks familiar. Does it look familiar to go? Oh, but you get to use your calculator. This is where you're going to be mad at me whenever you figure out how to do it. Your challenge problems on your calculator. Sir? We're going to focus on 1 through 4. All right, here we go. So this is very, very easy. You ready? You go to your matrix. You go over to edit. You're going to type this guy in. What size is he? 2 by 2. There you go. Is everybody okay so far? Okay, you get out of edit mode, so you're going to hit second quit. And you're going to find the inverse. Does anybody remember what the inverse symbol looks like? It's been a minute. Anybody remember what it looks like? Look on your calculator, see if you can find a button. Huh? It's not the fancy eye, no. What the inverse button looks like. Huh? What's it look like? X to the negative 1. Very good. So that is the inverse button. You might want to make a note somewhere on your paper that the inverse button is the negative 1 exponent, okay? You might want to make a note somewhere on your paper that the inverse button is the negative 1 exponent, okay? Alright, so here we go. Here's how we do this. We hit second matrix, and we put that in matrix A, so we're going to hit enter. And then we're going to hit that inverse button right here. So does everybody vote like mine? And hit enter, and you're going to get these crazy decimals. And you're like, hey, calculator, I need you to put those in fraction mode because I need to work with fractions in Miss Blackman's class, otherwise she's going to wig out. So here's what you do. You do not clear anything, because if you clear anything, it's going to mess up. Everybody ready? All right. You go to your regular math button right here. Not the matrix math, the regular math button. Okay? And what's the very first thing that pops up? Fraction. So you hit enter, and look what it says. Your calculator says, hey, do you want me to take that answer and make it a fraction? That's what that's saying. Answer fraction. And you're like, yes, I want you to take my answer and make it a fraction. Y'all okay? Do you understand now why it was easier to just say 1 divided by 3 before and 5 divided by 3 before instead of doing all this stuff? It's just easier. Alright, so our inverse. So we're going to write inverse equals negative 1/3, 5/3, 2/3, or excuse me, negative 2/3, and 7/3. Be thankful you have a calculator because it is not fun to do by hand. Yes, sir. Huh? We're gonna get to that. I'll show you. What's your calculator gonna give you? There. Yep. All right. Let's do number 2.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Why does it say like if it exists? You know where that
Yep.
can
Yep. When we do this by hand, you're dividing by things. And when would something not exist if you're dividing by what number? By 0, right? And that's what you would know if we were doing this by hand, but there's really no point because from here on out, pre-cal and calculus, you're never going to do it by hand. You're always going to do it in the calculator. So it's kind of like a waste of time. We could use that time for something else. All right, here we go. So we have second matrix. Let's do this together. You ready? Over to edit. This guy's a 2 by 2. And let's type those numbers in. Everybody should be typing it in with me, okay? We need practice. Alright, then we have to get out of edit mode. So how do we get out of edit mode? You're right. Second quit. There you go. And then you're like, calculator, I need you to take my matrix A and take the inverse. Remember that inverse button is the -1 button. You're going to get a whole lot of crazy decimals probably, or you could get an error. What does the error mean? It doesn't exist. There is not an inverse. There's no way to find it, because if you were to do this by hand, you're having to divide by a whole lot of things. Hence the reason why you have all these fractions, because you were dividing, right? So this means that we were dividing by what number for it to give us an error? 0. There you go. So what do we just need to write? No solution, no. Not possible. There you go. Does not exist. Not possible or does not exist. There you go. All right. You see if you can track 3 and 4, finding the inverse. Now, don't just write a random matrix. Make sure you write inverse equals. That way, when you do your test, I know what you found, okay? So you see if you can track 3 and 4 real quick in your calculator. If you don't have your own calculator, now would be a really good time to start asking Mom or Daddy to have one if you can, okay? I understand some of this can't go. Alright, did y'all get that? 4 over 19, 7 over 19, 1 over 19, and -3 over 19?
Yep.
Okay. Alright, here we go. Alright, number 4. Try number 4. No, a lot of them are not. A lot of them are not very good. Oh, like that? Yeah, you can use that if they terminate. That's fine. Y'all get that for number 4? 3/10, -1/10, 2/5, and 1/5?
Yes.
Sweet. This goes by so much faster when we have calculators. All right. Prepare to do the part where you're going to be mad at me. Ready? No, please do not start writing. All right, so we are about to learn how to solve these systems. Remember the systems of the challenge problems that y'all did that gave y'all fits? Okay, we are about to learn how to do those on our calculator. So you might want to grab a piece of paper because there's not a whole lot of room down here, and your study guide is on the back, so you really don't have a lot of room, okay? So grab a piece of paper, and because we can't just plug it in straight off, we need to do a little bit on our paper first, okay? All right, here we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a matrix out of our letters, okay? Just out of our letters. So what are the numbers for the top row?
2, 1, 1.
2, 1, 1. There you go. All right, what about our second row? What's the numbers for our second row? 3, 2, 3. There you go. And then your last row? 4, 1, 2. There you go. And what are you doing to all of your numbers and your variables? Like, what are you doing to 2 and x, and 3 and x, and 4 and x, and 2 and y? What are you doing to those guys? there's 4 operations. Which one are you doing? You're multiplying those, right? So when you do your matrix, you're also going to multiply those by your letters. No, you can't actually plug letters into your calculator, but in a minute, those letters are going to match up with some numbers so that you can see what X is and what Y is and so on and so forth. And what does that system equal? Huh? Why does my calculator do what? We're not done yet. Those letters mean something different on the calculator. So what are they equal to? 112. Come on, guys. -1. There you go. Okay, so just like you would solve an equation, how would you get multiplying all these numbers to the other side?
Divide.
Oh, you wouldn't subtract because you're not adding. You would do what, Kenan? You would divide. Did we ever do an operation where we divided?
Yeah.
No, we did not, right? We kind of did just a minute ago. Which operation did we do here on these guys? They were all dividing, right? So that's where we were dividing by. So what do we need to do to this matrix in order to get him to the other side? Find the inverse, right? Well, we have a calculator to do that. So here's what you need to write. You ready? You need to write this down. Do not do your calculator yet. You need to write this down so that you can see how to plug this in, okay? So the x, y, and z are going to be by themselves because if I were to do the inverse, these two would cancel each other out if I did the inverse, okay? All right, so when we rewrite that, we're going to, hold on a minute. Huh? No, they're not going to be negative. All right, so we're going to write 2, 1, 1, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and then we're going to write the symbol for inverse. What was the symbol for inverse? -1 as an exponent, right? And what else was on that right-hand side of the equal sign? 1, 12, -1. What happens if you plug these in backwards into your calculator? Why is it going to mess up? What are the dimensions of this guy?
3 by 3.
3 by 3. And what are the dimensions of this guy?
3 by 3.
What were to happen if you would put those in backwards in your calculator? You're going to get an error, and then you're going to think, oh, that's a no solution, and it's not a no solution, okay? So you've got to type it in this way. The inverse comes first, then the other one. So grab your calculator, because this is going to take a minute. All right, so here's what we do. We go to second matrix. We go over to edit, and we're going to type both of those guys in, okay? What's the dimensions of the first one? 3 by 3. And we're going to type this whole matrix in. Okay? But we're not done editing yet, so don't hit second quit. Where are we going to go? Going to go back to second matrix, over to edit, but you're not going to edit the first one this time. You're going to edit the second one. And what's the size of this guy?
3 by 1.
3 by 1. There you go. Type those numbers in. All right, then we're done editing. So once we're done editing, then we hit second quit. Y'all okay so far? Anybody need a minute? All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to tell our calculator, hey, I need you to find the inverse of that first matrix. Y'all okay so far? All right, so hit enter. Don't change it to a fraction yet because there's no point in doing that yet. Then we're going to say, hey, calculator, I need you to take this guy, and I need you to do what? Add, subtract, multiply, or divide?
Multiply.
Multiply. And you're like, your calculator's like, hey, what do you want me to multiply that answer by? And we need to say, go back to matrix, and I need you to multiply it by that second matrix that we did.
The inverse, right? That's
We can take the inverse of the second.
I just did the inverse. I wrote it down.
All right. So did y'all get -436? Okay, so what's the answer for x?
-4.
-4 was the answer for y.
3.
3, and what's the answer for z?
6.
6. There you go. You all okay? Sorry. I know some of you are probably not happy with me. So here's how you write your answer. -4, 3, and 6, right? You want to do your challenge problems real quick in your calculator? Let's go back to those real quick. Yeah, we are. Go back to those real quick. You turn them in and look up here. Where was that? Bless you. Let's do this one. That one right there. Okay. So, here's what we're going to do first. Just the letters. How many rows are there? 4 rows. And how many columns? 4. So we go second matrix, over to edit, and it's a 4 by 4. Alright, so what's my first row?
2, 2, 5, -5.
-5, 1. There you go. What's my second row?
-1, 1, 6.
Just look up here, baby. What's the third row?
2, -1, 1, 2.
There you go. And then the fourth row?
1, 1, 2.
There you go. Y'all okay so far? Did I lose anybody? I'm going too fast. I'm not doing anything, dear. Huh? Yeah, but I'm not doing anything right now. I'm waiting on that. Alright, then we go back to second matrix. We go over to edit, but we're not going to edit the first one. We're going to edit the second one. What size is what it equals? What size? 4 by 1. There you go. So we got -16, 15, 3, and 7. Y'all okay so far? Everybody typing this in with me? Alright, so we got to get out of edit mode, so second quit. Okay, so look back at that other one if you need to. Which one is the one that we find the inverse of? The big matrix or the skinny matrix? The big one, right? That was the first one. So we hit second matrix, enter, tell your calculator to take the inverse, hit enter. You're going to get all kinds of craziness, but don't worry. Don't clear anything. And we need to multiply that by second matrix in the second one. Those numbers look familiar? If they don't, then that means some of us didn't do our challenge problem. So what's W? 2. What's X? -2 and Y and Z. -1. Y'all okay? Alright, so let's go back. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to work out. Where are we at? I want you to work out 2 by yourself, okay? See if you can work out 2 by yourself. Now, make sure that you have this work for the first one, so that way if you get lost, you can go back and look at that work for the first one, okay? So if you don't have this work written down for number 1, make sure you do that. So I want you to try number 2 on your own, okay? You try number 2 on your own.
how many answers we have to keep? What it's equal to, like,
Yeah, just like we did here.
just two.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so make sure you've set it up like that, okay? Make sure you tell your calculator to take the inverse of the big one times the other one. Huh? You did not do this in the challenge? No, I can put the 2 on there. Alright, what'd y'all get?
-2, -1, 2.
Perfect. Perfect, perfect. Y'all okay? Alright, if you're still having issues, you might want to try another one, okay? So, just for giggles, we're not going to do this. We are not going to do this problem. But you're missing what letter here on number 3? Why? So, what number would you plug in your calculator? 0. You're missing what letter on the third one? X. So, what would you plug in? 0. Y'all okay? Yeah? Alright, here we go. We are finished. If you need to try another one, you can try another one. If you got my calculator, please go ahead and put it back where it belongs. And we are gonna review again. We're gonna review this stuff on Monday. We're gonna review everything on Tuesday, and we'll take our test on Wednesday. Okay, so your test is going to be Wednesday. Wednesday.